Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's once again me, Zach, here today with something a little bit different. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, kind of having a bad day. Still getting over being ill. It just burnt my mouth terribly eating some pizza because I was too hungry to wait for it to cool off. And generally just feeling kind of down today, you know? So we're gonna do something that isn't super relevant to what I usually do on the channel, but is relevant to me on a personal level. We're going to do a quick Pikmin tier list. I haven't done any Pikmin stuff at all on the channel yet. It's something I would like to do in the future, but, little known fact about me, Pikmin 2 is my favorite video game of all time. Closely followed by Pikmin 1, being, like, tied for first place or so, maybe second. Don't ask me, I don't care that much. So today, we're just going to go through and talk about each of the Pikmin types and their overall usefulness in their respective games. I have played 3. I have not really played 4, although I've watched a lot of people play it pretty obsessively. So, you know, take my opinions on 4 with a grain of salt. I'm not going to lie to you. The franchise has kind of lost me. In a way, I'm very happy to see it successful, but after 2, I feel like they've made a lot of changes that I'm just not as interested in. But maybe we can get to that in the future. For today, let's start with Pikmin 1. Pikmin 1 has 4 types-ish. They put the Puffmin on here, or the Mushroom Pikmin on here. They aren't a real type, technically. But you can sort of control them through like a glitch. It's a whole thing. We're going to go in order of when you get the Pikmin, not in the order that they're on, or that they're in on here. I'm guessing that they're in alphabetical order, is what it kind of looks like. Whatever. So the first ones you get are red. Now, we're going to put reds here for now. Red Pikmin in Pikmin 1 are pretty much the same as they are in most of the other games. They're immune to fire, and they do slightly more damage. It's like 1.5 times damage or something. In Pikmin 1, there are no other Pikmin types that deal bonus damage in any like notable or meaningful way. And for that reason, they are somewhat artificially, I guess you could say, enhanced. They're just a little bit more useful than they are in later editions, because nobody is there to do more damage than them. Zoom in on that purple Pikmin for a quick second. We're going to put them in A tier. In fact, no, I think A tier is good. There are areas where you don't actually want red Pikmin in Pikmin 1. But, to be clear, they are like here. They are hovering between A and S, because it's almost always good to have red Pikmin on you. Next up is yellows. You can get yellows on day 2 pretty easily. It's not even difficult, frankly. In Pikmin 1, they do not have their electricity immunity. They get that in Pikmin 2, which we'll get to later. And they are the only ones who can lift and use bomb rocks. They also can be thrown higher than other Pikmin types. In most instances, you can kind of like run and throw Pikmin at a specific angle to interact with the wall in a weird way, and then they'll shoot up higher than they normally would. So the being able to be thrown higher thing, it's nice, but it's not really necessary. There's not a ton of spots in Pikmin 1 that take advantage of that anyway compared to some of the later games. For that reason, plus having no immunities, plus having no combat abilities, because bomb rocks, especially in the original GameCube version, are more a detriment to your team than to the enemy. So, we can't put them in D, because they are pretty much necessary without significantly wigging the game out for getting around in most areas. And they're also very useful for speeding up areas of the map as well, allowing you to access different paths and things like that. Okay, so next up, both of these kind of come online at the same time, but we'll cover blue Pikmin next because they're the last, like, quote-unquote real Pikmin that's available in Pikmin 1. And blue Pikmin are pretty great. You get them last, but they are absolutely necessary in every single area of the game, again, without significant tricks and things like that. We're not talking about, you know, special tech done for special challenges or anything like that. We're talking playing the game relatively normal. You want blue Pikmin literally all the time in Pikmin 1. In my opinion, Pikmin 1 is the blue Pikmin's peak. It is where they are most useful. The main reason why red Pikmin are not in S tier, or if they are, they're low S tier, is because the Distant Spring does not take advantage of them pretty much at all. Whereas blue Pikmin in every single biome perform out of their goddamn minds. Blue Pikmin can both go underwater, which is their obvious ability, but they also, in Pikmin 1 and 2, I don't know if they ever brought it back, they took it out in 3, I'm pretty sure, blue Pikmin actually act as lifeguards, and if they are idle nearby a drowning Pikmin, they will lift them and throw them out of the water to the nearest bit of dry land. Sometimes this doesn't work out super well, but I think it's a really cool mechanic, and if they haven't brought it back yet, I think they should, because it's neat. It's one of those little things that the Pikmin do that gives them a little bit of life, right? Makes them feel a little bit real. Then we have the Mushroom Pikmin. This, of course, goes in never in squad, because outside of playing specific challenges and stuff, there's no reason you would ever go through the effort of getting these guys on your team. They don't do anything. They are formed exclusively when fighting the Puffstool enemy, and usually are aggressive to you. So, down there they go. Now, in terms of design, to be super clear here, in terms of design, big fan of the Mushroom Pikmin, but we're not here to talk about that. So, next up is Pikmin 2. Pikmin 1 and 2 both play pretty similarly, with Pikmin 2 just being a somewhat more polished and refined version of the original game, with a lot more content just in general. Slightly smaller overworlds, but with caves that added a lot of detail to things. However, these caves also added a lot of extra complexity, both to the combat system as well as to the way that you interact with the game directly. You can't just run through a cave fighting enemies willy-nilly, because the game will drop hazards on your head occasionally. You have to be ready for traps and tricks. You have to be ready for randomly generated areas of the map being, difficult to get to. Sometimes you'll get enemy combos in different rooms that are atrocious together, right? A Wollywog with a Blowhog, like a Puffy Blowhog or a Withering Blowhog, is a deadly combo if you're not careful and proactive. It forces you to move quickly and decisively while still taking your time enough to play safely. Because of that, alright, the way that we rate Pikmin will be a little bit different. We don't, honestly, in Pikmin 2, a lot of people meme about the fact that purple Pikmin can just kind of run the whole game. That's only somewhat true. Yes, they're great in combat, but you need a lot of utility, and I think that people kind of sleep on the broad utility that a lot of the other types bring in Pikmin 2. But let's get into it. We start off with red Pikmin yet again. I think we start with red Pikmin in every game except... well, 4 is weird because we start with all of them, technically. And 3 is weird because you sort of start with yellows, but then when the actual game starts, you have reds, so whatever. In the first 2 games, you start with reds both times. In this, they're identical. They are immune to fire, and they deal slightly more damage than normal. Outside of that, they have received no special buffs. I will say they stay in B tier. The reason is twofold. One, there are better combat options now. They're not usually in squad. But the main reason is because the fire geysers that in Pikmin 1 could not be destroyed are destructible, and they're a little bit too weak in Pikmin 2. So for that reason, unfortunately, they have to stay down in B tier. They are still useful. Again, people kind of sleep on them. It is honestly nice to kind of open a fight with purples and then have reds to follow up, because while purples... we'll get there, okay, we'll talk about that. Reds are reliable and mass-producible. It is very easy to get 100 reds out on the field, kill 80 of them in a fight with a dwarf Bulburb somehow, and then turn around and make 200 of them by clearing the rest of the zone you're in, right? It is nice to have numbers, right? I think a lot of people would put them in C, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They are low B, but they are B. Then after that, you get this is where we start going out of order. You get purple Pikmin next, so we can talk about them now. Purple Pikmin are 10 times the strength and weight of all other Pikmin. They are, sorry, like I said, still getting over a sickness a little bit, so if I sound like a disgusting animal, apologies. Purple Pikmin not only deal tons of damage, but they also have a stun effect whenever they land on an opponent. Coinciding with this stun effect that they have a homing modifier, if you want to think of it that way, to any kind of throw that you might attempt. Rather than flying off target, they will actually kind of drag themselves back. It's not super effective. You can't outright miss and still hit the enemy, but it is really good regardless. To counteract the fact that they are 10 times the strength of normal Pikmin, though, they are in fact very, very slow, with flower purples being about the speed of leaf whites or buds for any other type of Pikmin, I believe is roughly where they're at. So they can keep up, but they do fall behind, and once you get the speed boost item later in the game that speeds up the captains, they can really be left in the dust. For this reason, purples are, while still very overpowered, not quite as insta-win the game as people sometimes act online. You really need to have a good understanding of your squad, and most importantly, you don't want to have many purples with you at any given time. They are not your foot soldiers. They are your your lightning strike. They are your shock troopers, right? And for that reason, I think there's space for both of the combat bros on any given team, especially if you're planning on going and fighting a boss specifically. I think people would have appreciated Red Pikmin a bit more if there were more overworld bosses or overworld enemies that were uniquely very, very strong. Now personally, I like the overall vibe of Pikmin 2 being that the overworld is pretty easy and you can kind of vibe up there and resupply, and then the caves get really brutal later in the game, because I think that that's cool. It's got a D&D kind of vibe to it, you know? But overall, purple Pikmin, this isn't going to be a surprise. They are always in squad. I'm not going to rank S tier, in order of which is the strongest, because, yeah, purple Pikmin are incredibly important, but you literally can't beat the game without Pikmin 1's blue Pikmin. So we're just going to put them in order of game if they end up in S tier. I think there will be at least one S, maybe two, from every game. So, purple Pikmin, always great. They're also immune to fear effects. I forgot to mention that. Those are not very common. The Emperor Bulblax's Roar and the Mitite, or Mitite, however that thing is pronounced, fear hormone effect. Those are the two that immediately spring to mind, and they also can't be blown over by puffy or withering blowhogs. However, withering blowhogs will remove their flowers, so, bit of a bummer. Purple Pikmin are one of those ones where you really have to be on the ball when you have them in your party. They are slow, and if they lose their flowers, they get slower. You want to try to avoid that at all costs, but they do trivialize most, low to mid-level combats and make high-level combats much more manageable. Next up is sort of debatable, because there's a few different paths you can take. I'm going to introduce us to white Pikmin first, though, and then we'll go to yellow afterwards. White Pikmin are the other newly introduced main Pikmin variety from Pikmin 2. There is a third, you can see him down here, but he does not reappear in any of the subsequent games, unfortunately. White Pikmin are toxic when eaten by enemies, and are also immune to poison that is present in the world. This bonus is the weakest effect that they have. They're too rare for you to want to waste them by poisoning enemies, and also planning on losing Pikmin is always a losing strategy, right? It kind of reminds me of the old, use yellows with bomb rocks to just detonate an enemy and sacrifice that yellow in the process. It's just not really worth it most of the time. Sometimes it is, but overall, not really. And I would argue it's more worth it in Pikmin 1 because there's fewer combat options that you can rely on in Pikmin 2. Or, sorry, in Pikmin 1 versus Pikmin 2. So, why lose a white Pikmin when 2 purple Pikmin will, you know, stun that thing long enough for your reds to beat it to death? Right? However, white Pikmin have a few other abilities. They can see hidden items, meaning underground items, which is a really cool feature that, honestly, I feel like could be part of the main series in a bigger way, but white and purple Pikmin just kind of get left by the wayside. We'll talk about that later a bit. They are also much faster, with their flower Pikmin being a whole stage faster than normal flower Pikmin, like reds, yellows, blues, any of those. As I mentioned before, their leaves are about as fast as flowered purples, I believe. They are the only type that can keep up with you when you get the upgraded Boots of Speed later in the game as well. They carry things faster to go alongside that. They're generally pretty solid. I would say they also stay in B tier, but I do think that they are a little bit better than reds. I think reds are kind of slept on. I think whites are as well. Don't take that out of context, please. White Pikmin. But I do think that white Pikmin are overall more useful, because it is true that with purple stuns, you know, having a bunch of blue Pikmin or yellow Pikmin will kill an enemy pretty quick as well. You don't necessarily need the extra speed, but it is nice, right? And sometimes it's nice to just take reds instead of purples to have combat power but not risk, you know, a very limited resource, in quotes. However, with white Pikmin, they're always nice to have because you can just throw a couple of them on any given item that's being carried, and they will speed it up usually pretty significantly. So, all very cool. Next up, we have yellow Pikmin. Yellow Pikmin are the same in terms of their throwing arc from the first game, but they've lost the ability to lift bomb rocks. Bomb rocks are purely hazards in this game, outside of like 2-player versus mode and such. However, yellow Pikmin are now immune to electricity. Now, electricity in this game, unlike the subsequent two, is an insta-kill hazard, so we can immediately move them out of B tier to A tier. I don't think they go any higher than this, but it is worth noting that being one of only 2 types in the game that are immune to an insta-kill hazard does it boost you up a little bit. It makes you pretty useful. Now again, much like in Pikmin 1, you never want a very big squad of these guys, and I think I mentioned it when talking about Pikmin 1. I don't think they took advantage of the ability to throw yellows higher than everyone else in Pikmin 2. So really having a bunch of them to collect treasure is just not really that helpful. However, having them around, like even just 5 of them, that's what I used to do, is take about 5 to 10 and just use them to kill electric hazards in kind of a, you know, controlled environment. That's pretty useful. That's pretty worth having. Next up, we've got blue Pikmin. I think you can technically get these guys before blues, but we're going to do blue Pikmin next regardless. Blue Pikmin have fallen a little bit. Pretty significantly, I would say. Water hazards are still fairly common, but they're often surmountable. And blue Pikmin are the only type that just never get new abilities. They just always are a bog standard Pikmin that it can go underwater. Some people, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4, there's deeper sections of water. Oh, it was 3, right, where blue Pikmin can swim, and people acted like that was a new ability, and I'm like, my brother in Christ, what do you mean a new ability? That's just being underwater, but like, no, it's just literally that still. It is not a new ability, let's be realistic here. Blue Pikmin have not received any new abilities since Pikmin 1 in any of the games. And some people think that's a problem, some people don't. I will say that the caves somewhat hurt blue Pikmin, because some caves just straight up don't have water in them, or if they do have water, it's completely ignorable. Like in the Bulblax Kingdom, there is water at the end, even though it doesn't list it as a hazard, but you'd have to mess up pretty bad to lose your Pikmin in it, because it's entirely ignorable as a mechanic. As is, blue Pikmin and Pikmin 2 are far from useless, and they definitely stay in B tier. I don't think I can put them in A tier, but they definitely stay here in B tier. I would put them at the top of B, because there are still a handful of treasures and things that, again, without going crazy, you need blue Pikmin for. but they are weirdly self-defeating. There's a few areas where what they do is they clear out something that then lowers the water level. So then you no longer need blue Pikmin to interact in that area, which is just kind of funny that they sort of shoot themselves in the foot. Next up is Bulbmin. Bulbmins are little weirdos. By that I mean they are not only a little parasitic Pikmin that has infected a Bulborb, but they are the children of those infected Bulborbs that are themselves also infected, and only join our party after we kill their parent. All of that vague horror aside, Bulbmins are immune to all hazards but have no other special effects. They are in a weird spot because you cannot produce more of them. They are only given to you in certain sublevels, so we can't really put them in always in squad. Because there are certain circumstances where they won't even be in your squad, because you might not have 100 Pikmin or you might have 100 Pikmin with you, and they just won't spawn on that floor. I wish Bulbmin would come back. I think they make sense as a limited resource, right? A Pikmin that is immune to all effects and has nothing else really special about them. But you only occasionally get a couple of them, and they only spawn in certain areas, so you would have to like return to that area to get more Bulbmin, and you'd have to keep them alive. It would be kind of like purples and whites in Pikmin 2, but with just something a little bit different. So yeah, they can't really go in S tier or A tier. I would say C tier is where they make the most sense, but I'm not just rating like how often they're in your squad from like a meta perspective. This is meant to be a how good are they? And with that in mind, I will say they are above these two for sure. The reason, now here's the reasoning, okay? They're not always in squad, because if you can have 100 Pikmin when you go into a cave, in many instances it's going to be better than, purposefully taking fewer Pikmin than you can manage in order to hopefully get Bulbmin. As opposed to, having like, oh, I'm going to go in with 90 Pikmin instead of 100 because I might get 10 Bulbmin. It's not really worth doing that for them. But if you do get them, they definitely outperform Pikmin 1's red Pikmin and Pikmin 2's yellow Pikmin. I mean, they do the thing that yellow Pikmin do, just with a more consistent throwing arc. So that is the end of Pikmin 2. In this game, honestly, like I said, I think the types are a bit better balanced than people say they are, to be honest with you. Yellow Pikmin have a niche, even if it's pretty limited. Blues are pretty consistently useful. Reds are the worst in this generation, I guess, but they are still very usable. It's worth it to have at least a handful of them at any given time. White Pikmin have, again, a very solid niche. It really feels like each Pikmin belongs to a specific caste, like an ant colony would have, and they each do that job pretty well. And with tweaks, I think this basic kind of set could have become really well balanced. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, the guys that make the Pikmin games do feel like they need to add more Pikmin every single game. Now, that's not necessarily problematic, but we'll get there, I guess. First up, in Pikmin 3, we're kind of just going to do both of these guys, because they both have kind of a claim as being the first like real type you play as, but you do most technically start with yellow. Yellow Pikmin in Pikmin 3 are pretty useful, but I don't know. I personally don't find them all that handy to have. I'm gonna say they're actually also rarely in squad, but much higher than Pikmin 1's yellow Pikmin. The reason for this is they're still immune to electricity, but electricity is no longer an insta-kill, so the threat of it is very low. Electric gates are still a problem, but they're pretty like uncommon I almost said inconsistent and I couldn't think of the word. They're pretty uncommon, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, I'll pull out like 25 yellows, throw them on that wall, go do something else, you know? Especially in Pikmin 3, when you can do things like, I'm going to send the captain back home now, switch to another captain and do other stuff, and I'll be good. It really does mean, to an extent, that you don't really have to care as much about like pulling out Pikmin, because it's not as time-consuming to go back to base to pull out the right color of Pikmin that you need at that time. So I personally just find them pretty rarely used. Their only other real benefit, other than still having their height boost, is that they can dig faster. But that's it. Now everybody can use bomb rocks, which is how the game was originally going to be in Pikmin 1. So they don't even have that going for them. I don't know. Mid at best. Red Pikmin, I think, honestly, this might be controversial. Fire is, oh god, is it even more threatening than in Pikmin 2? I feel like there were a few parts where it was kind of annoying, but I can't really think of any significantly. And the problem is that Pikmin 3 adds in yet another extremely busted combat option, as well as a couple other Pikmin types that you're just going to want to have with you all the time. So for that reason, Red Pikmin, they are top of C tier. I could see somebody putting them into B tier just because they are still reliable. They're exactly the same. They're immune to fire. They deal bonus damage. They are the bog standard Red Pikmin that we know and love. But, like, why have them around, you know? Then we get to the next type, which is Rock Pikmin. Rockmin, the Stone Boys. These guys are great. I don't hate their design, but we're not here to talk about that. I just want to, mention I don't hate Rock Pikmin's design compared to some of the other ones that we'll get to later. But as a Pikmin type in Pikmin 3, their big things are they're immune to being crushed, and they don't latch on to enemies. They slam into them for a burst of damage. And they do the same thing when dealing with like walls and stuff. They can crack crystals and things. They are S tier, always in squad. They are the best combat option in Pikmin 3, by and large. Nothing really competes with them. You pretty much always want to have them on hand. There are rarely instances in which having Rock Pikmin is a bad idea. Oh, I forgot to mention, it's not just crushing. They're also immune to being stabbed. So, like, burrow nits and stuff can't hurt them at all, just outright. Making them the best defensive Pikmin, while also being the highest DPS Pikmin in Pikmin 2. Or in Pikmin 3, sorry. They are pretty crazy. Are they better than Pikmin 2's purples? In many ways, honestly, they're pretty close. While they don't trivialize fights as much as the stun does necessarily, Rock Pikmin are a lot easier to control and handle, even if the games had the exact same control scheme. Rock Pikmin do not have any negatives, they are not slow. The closest thing to a negative they have is they're not very good at, like, since they can't latch onto things, if you don't have very many of them and they don't kill stuff in a burst, they're not very good at, like, whittling an enemy down. But that's just so irrelevant a lot of the time that overall they're pretty close. I would say that we're going to leave it like this because it's going to be in order, but they are pretty similar. Next up is nope, I forgot, is Flying Pikmin, the pink Pikmin, the little bumblebee Pikmin. They can fly. That's their whole thing, and that is S tier. Arguably, like this. They just ignore game mechanics consistently. They trivialize whole sections of the game. Items have to be placed underwater to make it so that blue Pikmin have any kind of purpose in the game, because outside of that, pink Pikmin, or flying Pikmin, sorry. Wait a minute. They call them winged Pikmin, don't they? Goddamn. Here's the thing, okay? I'm old. And way back in the day when we were all online talking about Pikmin, it was always... people always were coming up with ideas. Rock Pikmin were an idea that some people had, but also Flying Pikmin. That has always been a Pikmin type that people wanted in the game. I always thought it was a bad idea because it removes what blues are good at, and trivializes yellows. But regardless, I've been calling them flying Pikmin for like 20 years now, so apologies, I'm sorry. They are winged Pikmin, though. Either way, winged Pikmin, flying Pikmin, whatever you want to call them, they do in fact trivialize both yellow and blue Pikmin. They can reach high up stuff just by spamming the control buttons a little bit, and they can obviously just fly over top of water in pretty much 90% of instances. Blue Pikmin really struggle in Pikmin 3, but we'll talk about them in a second. Yellow Pikmin only fare a little bit better because, you know, there's still like electric gates and stuff that it's nice to have them for. But that being said, winged Pikmin, you pretty much always want them around. You would think they would have like a combat penalty or something significant, but none of it matters. And like, you could have them deal 25% of a normal Pikmin's damage and it wouldn't matter. They'd still just be too useful for the utility. You kill everything with rock Pikmin anyway. Finally, the last Pikmin in Pikmin 3 that is actually in the base game, not in, you know, side, like, not really DLC, but like in side missions and such, is the blue Pikmin. They go down here. We'll be fair. We'll put them there. Blue Pikmin in Pikmin 3 are famously atrocious. Not only have they still not gotten any special bonuses since the beginning, to be supremely clear, again, swimming is not a bonus when you have gills. That is just being underwater still. It doesn't help anything. It's not like they get like a huge speed boost underwater or anything. They just can swim. Anyway, point is, in Pikmin 3, being able to walk through the water and stuff is at least kind of cool. You don't have a way of completely ignoring water mechanics like you do in 4. However, despite that, almost everything in the game, with a very, very tiny number of exceptions, is accessible by every other Pikmin type without needing blues at all. There's just nothing you really need them for, and they are so bog standard outside of that they just end up falling to the wayside completely. A lot of people say, you know, there was supposed to be a Pikmin 3 area that was cut from development that, like, was going to be super water heavy and stuff, and that's cool. But first off, why should an entire area be designed around one Pikmin type? There's not an area that's just like a bunch of tall cliff sides that yellow Pikmin are good in. You know, you don't need to design an entire area to make a Pikmin type good for anybody else. It's just blues because you added in flying. Like, the problem is very obvious, but the solution is the hard part. In addition to that, Pikmin 3 was in development for like fucking 10 years or something. If you can't finish the final area of your game in that amount of time, then I'm sorry, but it doesn't bode well for that type of Pikmin. Because if they're always going to be the last, like, if their zone is always going to be the last one to be designed, then it's not looking good for them. It's feeling pretty rough. But yeah, Pikmin 3, famously atrocious, unfortunately. Still my baby, still my favorite type, but they go in the trash. Next up, we've got Purple and Whites, who are both only present in the challenge modes. We'll kind of, like, lightning round these two because they're not that important. Whites are mostly unchanged from previous versions. I don't know if they can still see underground because I don't know if that comes up. I feel like they can, but I don't know if that comes up at all. I didn't really play the challenge modes. But they're still fast little shits, and they don't care about poison and whatnot. They go in B tier at the bottom. Purples, though, they got nerfed into the dirt, and they actually kind of go down here. Honestly, but I think maybe rarely. We'll put them in rarely. They can lift 10 times what other Pikmin can, and sometimes that's useful to help them out a little bit, and just kind of, you know, throw 5 guys and a purple on something that would normally take, you know, 10 to carry, and they'll carry at a decent speed. But they are no longer good in combat, and I don't even think that their stun exists anymore, so They have fallen wildly from grace, for sure. Absolutely major drop-off, for sure. Usable, not as bad as these two. but probably the worst of C tier. Finally, we've got Pikmin 4. Now again, take what I say about Pikmin 4 with a grain of salt. I have not really played it. I've just kind of watched people play it. We're going to go in the order that the Pikmin were introduced to the series, partly because I just think that's kind of cool, but also because you start off with all the Pikmin, basically, in like the prologue thingy, right? That was the demo section, wasn't it? I don't remember. Either way, starting with Reds. Reds are mostly the same. They have also not really changed until now. Now they can carry burning stuff, and you can use that to like light braziers and whatnot. So they are useful in puzzles. I think you probably don't have a ton of them. I think sometimes in Squad. Here's the issue, okay? The way that Pikmin 4 is formatted, they tell you what the best options are, and then you are limited to how many of each color of Pikmin you can have out at any given time. So where I say these go, kind of irrelevant, you know? Either way, I'm going to rate them based off of how useful I think they are. Red Pikmin, B. Sometimes useful. In fact, I wouldn't even put them that high. I'd put them here, maybe. Like here-ish. Good to have. They're important for solving certain puzzles, much like Blue Pikmin and Pikmin 2. But after they do that, overall usefulness is kind of back to being mid. Then we've got Yellow Pikmin. Again, still immune to electricity, faster at digging, can be thrown high, all that normal stuff. God, it doesn't feel like electricity is that common of a threat. I'm gonna be honest here, I'm gonna put them right there. I don't even know if there's anything you need them for offhand. Damn. Are they worse than Pikmin 3's purples? I don't think so. I think they still have a use, it's just relatively limited. They are good for fighting like arachnorbs and stuff, so there you go. They do have a niche. Funny that all the yellows ended up piled right here. Then we've got Blue Pikmin. Let's not mince words here. My boy. Blue Pikmin are marginally more useful in Pikmin 4. I'm not actually putting them in D tier. I'm going to put them probably like here. I do think they are most likely the worst of the Pikmin types in Pikmin 4. Because between Ochi being able to carry your entire squad of Pikmin across bodies of water, and the fact that there's just not like a ton of areas with water in them, Blue Pikmin just are kind of left behind. There is, however, before you attack me, there is a lot more to do with them. There are several watery areas where their abilities matter and are useful. They get on the list, they're rarely in the squad, but they are in the squad. Next up, we've got, of course, Purple Pikmin again. Now, Purple Pikmin, they're a little bit better than they used to be. Like, they are very usable for sure. I don't remember if they retain... I'm pretty sure they retain their fear immunity, didn't they? I want to say they did. They're definitely better. Sometimes in squad, I think, but again, they're probably at the bottom of this. It is a good glow-up. Going up a whole tier, that's not bad. Yellow Pikmin have never managed to do that, except between 1 and 2. Ever since then, they've just sat in C tier. But Purple Pikmin are decent. They're pretty good. White Pikmin, yeah, White Pikmin, on the other hand, they're down here as well. Somewhat unfortunately. Well, maybe here. They are faster than other Pikmin types. They're cute as shit, too. But when it comes right down to it, there's multiple other utility Pikmin that just outshine them at this point in the game. And I don't think they're all that useful. Well, they're not that useful for solving too many puzzles, but they do deserve to be at least there, I think. Or here? No. Probably not above Pikmin 3's Red Pikmin either. They're about as expendable as Pikmin 3's Red Pikmin, I think. So, there's that. Let's see. Then we've got Rock Pikmin next. Rock Pikmin remain quite good. They go up into usually in squad, probably around here. pretty much tied with Pikmin 1's red Pikmin. They're still a very solid, combat option at this point in the series. Limiting their number, it isn't quite as effective as maybe it should be, because having, only a specific number of them out at a time doesn't really matter, because I think the limit is like 35, 30-ish. I don't remember. Or is it just a limit of 3 types? Whatever. The point is, you can't really limit them enough for it to matter. They just DPS so quickly. Flying Pikmin, on the other hand, they found a way to nerf Flying Pikmin. They found a way to nerf them all the way down. Probably not this low. Probably like here. Yeah, maybe there, actually. Actually, are they worse than Blue Pikmin? It's around here-ish. Somewhere down here. The reason is because they fucked up their AI. The way that they found to nerf the supreme ability of the flying Pikmin was by simply making them dumb as hell, unfortunately. It doesn't feel good as a nerf, but it is a nerf, so I guess good on you, question mark? Either way, they're just not good at pathing, and occasionally they'll just take, they'll just say they can't get through a route even though they can clearly fly there. And it's just a great example of how flying Pikmin are just kind of a bad idea to have introduced in the first place. In my opinion. That is purely my opinion. Like the color scheme, don't like the stripe, but I like the color scheme. I just think that it could have been a better outcome, personally. Now let's talk about my 2 least favorite Pikmin in the franchise, Ice Pikmin and Ghost Pikmin. I don't like Ghost Pikmin, they feel gimmicky and cartoony, and I don't like Ice Pikmin because they feel weirdly elemental. It would be like if Red Pikmin were on fire. It's weird to me. I don't like it. Now that being said, they are the best Pikmin in the game. You have to have Ghost Pikmin for night missions, just outright. So that right there, that's important. They're immune to all hazards, except for, of course, the Smoky Prog insta-kill gobbledygook. But they, other than that, they're yeah, they're necessary. You have to have them. They're immune to all hazards. They're fucking required for the story. Ice Pikmin, though, are arguably even stronger. Maybe less necessary, in quotes. But they are probably the strongest combat Pikmin in the game, even surpassing Rock Pikmin in most situations, because you can simply freeze enemies. It's basically like if you combined... Oop, that's the wrong one. Pikmin 2's Purple Pikmin with the Bitter Spray from Pikmin 2, and... boom, you have Ice Pikmin. I don't know how anybody thought that was a good idea, personally. I think that's crazy, but it is what it is. Overall, let me just scroll up here, center it a bit for you guys. There you go, that's my list. This is roughly how I feel about all of the different Pikmin types. If I'm wrong about anything in Pikmin 4, let me know. Because, like I said, I haven't really played that game. I've watched a lot of people play it, and just kind of absorbed stuff through cultural osmosis. But, unfortunately, I'm dirt poor. And I don't have a Switch, so I can't play it right now. That being said, Pikmin 1 and 2, reasonably confident about that, but, let me know down in the comments if you do think that I'm wrong about anything. I would love to be wrong. Please let me know if I'm wrong about Blue Pikmin. Please help me move them higher. I love them so much. Anyway, sorry about my voice if I sound awful. I am sick, but hopefully this is a fun video, even if it's not the usual content that I produce. I just needed something to cheer me up, and talking about Pikmin for almost an hour definitely does that. Thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We have a Patreon. It starts as low as $1, goes up to $10. There's not a whole lot of perks to it yet, but it would really help us here at the Shadowfire HQ, mostly me, pay for food and stuff that I need to be alive, which is pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, thanks for watching. Tune in next time. Have a good one, and peace.